سفیرمارک گنیبرگ، رهبری که شورای ملی مقاومت در داخل ایران نشان داده است، الگو و الهامی برای دیگر ایرانیان است که باید پشت سر آن متحد شوند. زنان جوانی که به خانم رجوی به عنوان منبع الهام و رهبری نگاه می کنند، در او کسی را دیدند که می تواند در نهایت ایران را به آزادی، کرامت و رشد اقتصادی که مردم ایران شایسته آن هستند برساند.
This is Ambassador Mark Ginsburg. I wanted to convey to you my best wishes and hope that this meeting that is taking place leads us one step closer to achieve the goal that we all want to achieve, which is a democratic government in Iran led by Madam Rajavi. For far too long, Western governments have thought that the only policy to pursue with Iran is a policy of appeasement. The elusive search to achieve a policy of appeasement has led foreign governments down a path to nowhere. What they have gotten in result is a government in Iran that is a military dictatorship determined to oppress the Iranian people, to spread terrorism and global disharmony, and to achieve the worst possible objective that all of us are most fearful of, and that's the development of a nuclear weapon. The narrative that has been pursued by foreign governments, that working with this government will somehow make it moderate, has been and continues to be a failed policy. Let me explain. One of the things that we are most concerned about is witnessing in the wake of President Raisi's death that this government has contrived another fraudulent presidential election that is somehow supposed to lead the world to believe that Iran is in effect holding a democratic election. It's far from the truth. And most importantly, what it is doing at the same time is suppressing any opposition that should have their voices heard during this critical time in Iran's history. Time and again, we have seen the courage of the Iranian people, men, women, and children, take to the streets to express their deep resentment and opposition to this tyrannical regime. The NCRI is fighting every day inside Iran to support these forces of democracy under Madam Rajavi's leadership. I believe that we are closer rather than farther away from achieving our desired goal. But it is important that we understand, both internationally and in the United States, that continued pretending that somehow we can diplomatically deal with an Iranian regime that is even more oppressive, more determined to export terrorism, more determined to build a nuclear weapon is a fool's errand. I strongly believe that the leadership that the NCRI has demonstrated inside Iran is an example and an inspiration for other Iranians, those of us who believe in Madam Rajavi's leadership and the courage of the people who are supporting the NCRI in Iran warrant further support. And in effect, that support should come from a bipartisan initiative in Congress. Tens of thousands of Iranians have taken up the call of the NCRI inside Iran. They have taken to the streets. They have posted posters against the regime. They have posted videos against the regime, all in the name of galvanizing support. The young women who look to Madam Rajavi for inspiration and leadership have seen in her someone who they believe could ultimately bring Iran to the type of freedom, dignity, and economic vitality that the people in Iran deserve. Let me close by saying the following. What is going on in Paris today is one step closer to achieving that goal. The NCRI is a critical organization in that objective. I congratulate all of you again and wish you all the best in achieving that goal.
ژنرال جیمزکانوی در میان کسانی که به خیابان‌ها می‌روند تا اعتراض کنند، نقش زنان در ایران برجسته است. بسیاری برای این آرمان شهید شدند. من خانم رجوی را به عنوان الهام بخش و الگوی این زنان شجاع تقدیر می‌کنم. برنامه 10 ماده او یک پیام فوق‌العاده است.
Ladies and gentlemen, for hundreds of years before the birth of Christ, the people and tribes of Persia became one of the greatest empires in history. The rule of Cyrus the Great offered the old world new concepts of multiculturalism, freedom of religion, incredible architecture, road building, common language, trade, literature, and art. Their skills at administering large and diverse cultures over great distances was studied and copied by virtually every empire that followed. Conversely, the past 45 years have been the darkest in the great history of Persia. That's because the first priority of the current government of Iran, the Islamic Republic, and the Ayatollahs is the survival of their regime. Increasingly, we have seen them do anything that is necessary to survive, to include the imprisonment, torture, even murder of their own citizens who object to their methods. In the process, they have developed proxy forces in Iraq, Syria, Lebanon, and Yemen that serve only to destabilize the Middle East. Their internal policies have brought rampant inflation, crime, poverty, and poor quality of life. The Ayatollahs spend the national treasure not to benefit the people, but rather on weapons of mass destruction and support of their proxy armies. Moreover, 10 years ago, Reuters investigated the dealings of the Islamic Republic and determined that the leadership was stealing millions, perhaps billions, from the Iranian people, mainly in real estate. As a result, there exists in Iran today a vicious cycle that only promises to get worse. One of the key tenets of a successful revolution is the willingness of the people to risk their lives in protest of the crimes of their government. During the American Revolution, an American patriot, just before he was hanged, famously said, "I regret that I have only one life to give to my country." The Iranian people have repeatedly demonstrated that same determination. Prominent among those who go to the streets in protest have been the women. In Iran, perhaps because they have been marginalized the most, the mothers, sisters, and daughters have often been the loudest in condemning the injustices of the regime. Many have become martyrs for the cause. I credit Madame Rajavi with being the inspiration and the role model for these courageous women. Another tenet of a successful regime change is the ability to make people aware of how their lives would be better with change. Madame Rajavi's 10-point plan is an incredible message. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.